Senior Intelligence Officer Varx's morning began like any other in the Galactic Council's Observation Division, with a meticulous review of overnight reports from the 1,000 automated satellites monitoring Sol 3, known to its inhabitants as Earth. The holographic displays cast a soft purple glow across their iridescent scales as they sorted through the data streams. Everything changed when the emergency beacon triggered. The alert came from Outpost Sigma 7, one of their most reliable surveillance stations in Earth's outer orbit. Varx's auxiliary hearts quickened as they processed the incoming data. The outpost had detected an unauthorized archaeological vessel dropping out of faster-than-light travel behind Earth's moon, using outdated cloaking technology that barely masked its energy signature. "Display vessel identification," Varx commanded, their translator converting the series of clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. The holographic display expanded, revealing a familiar registry number that made their spine ridges flatten in dismay. The Stellar Seeker, Professor Zinma's research vessel. Varx had warned the Council about Zinma's growing obsession with human technological development. The professor's latest paper, Evolutionary Anomalies in Sol 3 Advancement Patterns, had been rejected by every reputable academic institution in the galaxy. Its central thesis, that humans were advancing too quickly, too purposefully for it to be natural evolution, violated dozens of established scientific principles. Now it seemed Zinma had decided to gather proof personally. Protocols be damned. Varx initiated emergency containment procedures, their clawed fingers dancing across the neural interface. Track all communications from the Stellar Seeker. Priority Level Alpha. Authorization. Varx Prime Observer. The data streams shifted, focusing on the illegal vessel. Fragments of encrypted transmissions began flooding the displays. Varx's translation matrix worked overtime, decoding the messages. Magnetic anomalies detected beneath surface structures. Energy signatures matched no known technological progression. Evidence of information repositories predating current civilization. Varx's threat assessment algorithms screamed for immediate intervention, but experience had taught them patience. Humans were notorious for their unpredictability. A direct confrontation with Zinma's team might expose the Galactic Council's presence to Earth's increasingly sophisticated detection systems. The surveillance feeds showed the Stellar Seeker deploying microprobes toward Earth's surface. Each one violated at least 7 different protocols established after the Great Mistake of 2157, when hasty first contact with the Proxima Centauri civilization had resulted in a war that nearly destabilized the entire sector. Initiate tracking on all deployed probes, Varx ordered, their voice steady despite the growing tension. The holographic display expanded, showing 12 distinct points of light descending through Earth's atmosphere. Each probe targeted a different major human population center: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, Cairo. A pattern clicked in Varx's mind. These weren't random targets. They were all sites of major human libraries and museums. A new transmission fragment caught their attention. "Professor, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the human knowledge repositories. They're not just buildings. There's something else there. Something old. The humans. They're protecting something." Varx's scales shifted to a deeper shade of purple as they processed this information. In their centuries of observing Earth, they had noticed humanity's peculiar obsession with preserving information. Every human civilization, regardless of technological level, devoted enormous resources to protecting their written knowledge. Varx had always attributed it to cultural quirks, but Zinma's illegal expedition was suggesting something far more intriguing. The next transmission made their blood run cold. "Professor, the humans, they know we're here. They've known all along. The libraries, they're not what we thought. They're not just storing their history, they're guarding it." Varx initiated an emergency council alert even as they began composing their preliminary report. The situation had just become far more complex than a simple protocol violation. Either Zinma's team had succumbed to observation paranoia, a common affliction among those studying Earth, or humanity had been playing a very, very long game. The real question was, what exactly were they guarding, and from whom? The Prairie Creek Public Library stood unassumingly on the corner of Main Street and Walnut, its red brick exterior weathered by Kansas winds and time. Professor Zinma's surveillance probe hovered invisibly above the building, recording everything with quantum-enhanced sensors. To most observers, the library appeared perfectly ordinary, exactly the kind of small-town institution one would expect in the American Midwest. That's what made the energy readings impossible to believe. "These readings can't be correct," Zinma muttered, their crystalline appendages tapping against the ship's sensor array. "The power signature exceeds anything in our database. Run the calculations again." But before their team could comply, movement caught their attention. A young woman approached the library's front door, her blonde hair caught in the early morning breeze. According to their intelligence, this was Madison Reynolds, the night shift librarian. Nothing in her personnel file suggested anything remarkable. Bachelor's degree in library science, born and raised in Prairie Creek, active in the local historical society. Yet the sensors told a different story. The moment Madison touched the library's door handle, the probe's energy readings spiked. Patterns of light, invisible to human eyes, but blazing across the probe's sensors, rippled through the building's structure. The technology at work was impossibly advanced, not just beyond current human capabilities, but beyond anything in the Galactic Council's archives. "Recording everything," Zinma ordered, their voice trembling with excitement. "Multiple backups. This is what we've been looking for." Inside the library, Madison moved through her morning routine with practiced ease. She navigated the quiet aisles between towering bookshelves, her footsteps echoing softly on the worn carpet. To any human observer, she was simply checking returned books and preparing for the day ahead. But the probe's sensors revealed something else entirely. As Madison passed each section, complex energy patterns shifted and realigned. The books themselves seemed to pulse with subtle electromagnetic frequencies that formed intricate, impossible patterns. When she reached the reference section, she paused, glancing around as if checking for observers. What happened next made Zinma's research team fall silent in collective shock. Madison placed her hand on a seemingly ordinary reference desk, and the air itself seemed to ripple. The probe's sensors registered a cascade of energy signatures that matched perfectly with lost technology from the precursor era. Technology that even the most advanced council civilizations could barely comprehend, let alone replicate. "By the first stars," one of Zinma's assistants whispered. "She's interfacing with it, like she's done it 1,000 times before." The library's entire technological facade flickered for just a moment, revealing glimpses of something far more ancient and powerful beneath its mundane exterior. Madison moved through the interface with casual familiarity, her fingers dancing across control surfaces that shouldn't exist, accessing systems that defied the known laws of physics. Orcs, monitoring everything from orbit, felt their scales prickle with unease. This wasn't just a violation of technological progression models. It was impossible. Humans shouldn't have access to this level of technology, let alone be able to operate it with such casual expertise. The morning sun began to peek through the library's windows, casting long shadows across the aisles. Madison completed whatever task she had been performing, and the incredible energy signatures faded back into dormancy. She continued her morning routine as if nothing extraordinary had happened, humming softly as she sorted through a cart of returned books. "Send the data analysis to my personal terminal," Zinma ordered, their crystalline form vibrating with barely contained excitement. "This proves everything. Humans aren't just advancing, they're remembering. The knowledge was here all along, hidden in plain sight." But before they could begin a deeper analysis, every sensor on the probe suddenly went dark. The last transmission they received showed Madison looking directly at the probe's location, a knowing smile playing across her lips. In orbit, Orcs watched their displays erupt with warning signals as the probe's connection terminated. The implications were staggering. Not only did humans possess technology that should be impossible for their development level, but they were fully aware of being watched, and had chosen until now to simply let it happen. The question was no longer whether humans were hiding something, but rather, what game had they been playing all along, and were Zinma's illegal observations about to trigger a response millennia in the making? Vark's observation chamber had transformed into a sea of holographic data streams, each one tracking a different aspect of human behavior throughout recorded history. After the Prairie Creek incident, they had initiated a deep analysis of humanity's relationship with their knowledge repositories, and what they found defied all logical explanation. Display comparative defense allocations, all major human conflicts, Varks commanded. The air shimmered as new data crystallized before them. The pattern was impossible to ignore. During World War II, humans had evacuated their books before their people. The British Museum had better protection than military bunkers. In ancient times, the Library of Alexandria's destruction had been mourned more deeply than the fall of empires. Modern universities employed security systems that rivaled presidential protection details. A message ping interrupted their analysis. Priority alert from field observer Keksna. Varks's scales rippled with interest. Keksna had been studying human conflict patterns for 3 centuries. Display, they ordered. The message expanded. Pattern anomaly detected. Humans deliberately preserve incorrect information. Major libraries contain subtle errors, mathematical inconsistencies, and technological blind alleys. These errors appear purposeful, following mathematical patterns too precise to be accidental. Varks's auxiliary hearts quickened. They had noticed something similar in their own observations. Human libraries seemed designed to mislead outside observers, presenting an intricate facade of normal technological and cultural development that broke down under closer inspection. Cross-reference with the Stellar Seeker's probe data, Varks commanded. New patterns emerged in the holographic display. Every library Zinma's team had targeted showed the same energy signatures as Prairie Creek, but with subtle variations that formed a larger pattern across the globe. The next revelation came from their historical analysis team. During every major human conflict, libraries and museums survived at statistically impossible rates. Even when cities burned, knowledge centers remained standing. When they fell, their contents had invariably been evacuated first, preserved with a dedication that bordered on religious fervor. Display current global security deployments, Varks ordered. The holographic map shifted, showing heat maps of human security forces worldwide. The highest concentrations didn't center on military bases or government buildings, but formed intricate patterns around libraries, universities, and museums. A new message flashed with urgent priority. One of their deep cover observers had managed to access sealed records from something humans called the Vatican Secret Archives. The documents contained centuries of astronomical observations that shouldn't have been possible with the technology of their time. Star charts showing systems humans couldn't have known about, and mathematical proofs that wouldn't be discovered for centuries. Add Vatican data to the global pattern analysis, Varks commanded. Their eyes widened as the computer compiled the results. The Vatican's astronomical records weren't just advanced. They contained deliberate errors that, when mapped against similar mistakes in other human archives, formed a complex mathematical code. Varks began composing an urgent report to the council, their claws clicking rapidly against the neural interface. Evidence suggests human knowledge preservation exceeds all known cultural imperatives. Their libraries are not mere repositories. They are fortresses, guarding something far more significant than books. More concerning still, the errors and inconsistencies in their preserved knowledge appear to be part of a vast, coordinated system of misdirection spanning their entire civilization. They attached data showing how humans had protected their libraries through floods, fires, wars, and collapses of civilization. The pattern extended beyond mere cultural significance. It suggested purpose, planning, and coordination on a scale that spanned millennia. As Varks compiled the evidence, a new thought struck them. What if humans' seeming obsession with preserving knowledge wasn't cultural at all? What if it was strategic? The final piece clicked into place when they reviewed footage from a recent museum evacuation during a natural disaster. The humans had bypassed priceless artifacts to save what appeared to be ordinary books. But the energy readings from those books, nearly masked by sophisticated interference, matched the signatures from Prairie Creek. Orcs added a final note to their report. We have been operating under a fundamental misunderstanding. Humans aren't preserving their history. They're protecting something else entirely, something they've hidden within their libraries and museums. The question is no longer what they're guarding, but why they've maintained this deception for so long, and what they're protecting it from. The holographic display in Varx's command center pulsed with an angry red as the deep scan violation warnings multiplied. They had known the scans were illegal. Penetrating more than a few meters below Earth's surface violated 17 different council protocols. But after the patterns they'd discovered in human libraries, they had to know more. What they found beneath humanity's oldest cities defied explanation. Display subsurface scan results, grid pattern alpha, Orcs commanded. The holographic representation of Earth's crust bloomed before them, layers peeling away to reveal something extraordinary. Beneath the ancient cities of Alexandria, Beijing, Rome, Teotihuacan, and dozens of others, vast geometric structures pulsed with energy that shouldn't exist. Analysis complete, the computer announced. Structures show perfect geometric alignment. Energy signatures suggest interconnected network. Varx's scales shifted to deep purple with excitement as they studied the data. The underground complexes weren't random. They formed a precise mathematical pattern across the planet's surface. Each facility seemed to pulse with energy in perfect synchronization, like a planetary heartbeat that had been going for millennia. A priority alert flashed from one of their surveillance drones in London. Display, Varx ordered. The footage showed a young man in a museum curator's uniform entering the British Museum's basement through a service door. Nothing unusual, except the drone's sensors detected a brief energy surge that matched the patterns they'd found underground. The curator had somehow accessed one of the facilities, but the drone's footage showed nothing but an empty basement. Replay with full spectrum analysis, Varx commanded. The footage shifted through different wavelengths until there. For a fraction of a second, reality itself seemed to ripple around the curator. Then he simply vanished, leaving no trace of his passage. Varx's claws danced across the neural interface as they cross-referenced similar incidents. The pattern was staggering. Every day, hundreds of humans across the planet accessed these underground facilities, using methods that completely evaded their most sophisticated surveillance technology. The entrances seemed to exist in a quantum state, simultaneously there and not there, accessible only to those who knew exactly how to reach them. Compile energy signature analysis from all detected facilities, Varx ordered. The results confirmed their suspicions. The energy patterns weren't just similar to the ones they'd detected in human libraries. They were identical, but on a massive scale. Their third heart nearly stopped when the computer completed its architectural analysis. The underground facilities weren't built into the Earth's crust. They had been there first. Humanity's oldest cities hadn't been built over these structures by accident. They had been built to protect them. A new alert caught their attention. One of Zinma's escaped probes had managed to capture readings from beneath the Great Library of Alexandria before going dark. The data stream was fragmentary, but what it revealed. Cross-reference detected technology with Galactic Council archives, Varx commanded, their voice trembling. The computer's response was immediate. No match found. Technology exceeds all known development parameters. Varx began composing an urgent update to their report. The geometric pattern of underground facilities suggests a planetary network predating all known human civilization. Energy signatures indicate ongoing use, but our most advanced surveillance technology cannot track how humans access these facilities or what they do inside them. They attached deep scan images showing how the facilities pulsed in perfect synchronization, forming patterns that hinted at purposes they could barely begin to comprehend. The technology at work wasn't just advanced. It operated on principles that made their most sophisticated theories look primitive by comparison. As Vark studied the planetary network's pattern, a disturbing thought occurred to them. The facilities weren't just storage spaces or bunkers. The geometry of their arrangement, the precision of their energy pulses, the way they interfaced with each other across vast distances, it all suggested something far more significant. These weren't just archives. They were components of a vast machine, built to purposes they couldn't fathom, maintained in secret by generations of humans who somehow accessed them using technology that shouldn't exist. The question was no longer just what humans were hiding, but how long they had been hiding it, and what would happen when they finally decided to stop hiding it at all. Varks had intercepted thousands of human communications over their years of observation, but this conversation made their scales stand on end. The transmission had been thoroughly encrypted, hidden within ordinary internet traffic between a college professor in Boston and a museum curator in London. The legacy must be protected, the professor's message read. The watchers have grown bold. The response came hours later. The protocol remains unbroken. We are ready. Varks's analysis sensors identified both humans from their database. Professor James Sullivan, teaching medieval literature at Harvard University. Dr. Elizabeth Hammond, head of ancient manuscripts at the British Museum. Their backgrounds were impeccable, ordinary, too ordinary. Display ancestral records, Varks commanded. The holographic display bloomed with family trees stretching back centuries. Sullivan's lineage traced to Irish monks who had preserved manuscripts during the Viking invasions. Hammond's ancestors had been librarians and scribes since before the Norman conquest. They weren't alone. As Varks dug deeper, they found hundreds of similar bloodlines scattered across Earth. Museum curators in Cairo descended from ancient Egyptian priests. Librarians in Beijing whose families had served in the Imperial Library for countless generations. Native American storytellers whose ancestors had memorized vast archives of knowledge. Cross-reference all identified bloodlines with facility access incidents, Varks ordered. The computer took several minutes to compile the data. The resulting pattern was stunning. Every time one of their surveillance systems had detected someone accessing the underground facilities, it had been a member of these families. The Guardians, as they called themselves, held seemingly ordinary jobs in libraries, museums, and universities. They lived quiet lives, had normal routines, paid their taxes, except for those moments when they simply vanished from all detection. A new intercepted transmission caught their attention. This one between a high school history teacher in Mumbai and a museum janitor in Mexico City. The children are ready to learn. The old ways will not be forgotten. Varks's analytical mind raced as they processed the implications. These families weren't just preserving knowledge. They were passing it down, generation after generation, hiding some vast secret in plain sight. Display historical correlation analysis, they commanded. The holographic display shifted, showing how these bloodlines had survived every major catastrophe in human history. When cities burned, when empires fell, when wars raged, these families endured, protecting their secret knowledge through countless disasters. The computer flagged another transmission, this one dating back several weeks. The stars grow curious. The legacy must remain hidden until the time is right. Varks froze. The message had been sent the day before Zinma's illegal expedition began. Somehow, the Guardians had known they were coming. Compile behavioral analysis of all identified Guardian bloodlines, Varks ordered. The pattern that emerged challenged everything they thought they knew about human civilization. These families didn't just preserve knowledge. They acted as its living vessels. Their ordinary jobs provided perfect cover for their real work. A librarian could access restricted archives without raising suspicion. A museum curator could spend hours alone with ancient artifacts. A university professor could pass down secret knowledge under the guise of academic research. But it went deeper than that. Their entire lives seemed designed to protect something they called the legacy. They married strategically, positioned their children in key institutions, and maintained a global network that had operated undetected for thousands of years. Varks added an urgent addendum to their report. Evidence suggests the existence of organized groups, guardians, who have protected hidden knowledge across generations. Their operations are sophisticated, their bloodlines carefully maintained, their true purpose masked by ordinary occupations. The next transmission they intercepted made their blood run cold. It was from a guardian to their child. Remember, little one, we don't preserve knowledge because it might be forgotten. We preserve it because it must never be found, until we're ready to remember who we really are. Vark stared at the message for a long time, their scales shifting to the deep blue of profound realization. They had been wrong from the start. This wasn't just about protecting information. The Guardians weren't preserving humanity's past. They were protecting its future. This observation has gone on long enough, High Counselor Nexvoz declared, their crystalline form pulsing with impatience. We will access these facilities directly. Vark's protests echoed through the Council's emergency chamber. The humans have demonstrated capabilities far beyond our understanding. Direct intervention could be catastrophic. But the Council had already made their decision. After Varks's latest report on the Guardian bloodlines, fear had overcome caution. The idea that humans might possess technology that surpassed the Council's understanding threatened the very foundation of galactic order. Operation Starbreak launched at dawn, Egyptian local time. 3 stealth vessels, equipped with the Council's most advanced penetration technology, descended through the atmosphere above the Giza Plateau. Their mission: breach the underground facility that Varks's scans had detected beneath the ancient pyramids. Varks watched in horror as the operation unfolded. Teams in position, the mission commander reported. No sign of human awareness. Beginning penetration sequence. The vessels deployed quantum drilling arrays, technology that could pierce any known material. Energy beams lanced down, targeting the precise coordinates where Varks's scans had detected the facility entrance. For 3 seconds, everything seemed to work perfectly. Then reality itself seemed to hiccup. The quantum drills didn't shut down or malfunction. They simply ceased to exist, as if they had never been there at all. The vessel's sensors went dark, then came back online showing impossible readings. Energy surge detected. The mission commander's voice crackled with static. Unlike anything we've... Wait, something's happening to local space-time. Varks watched their displays light up with warnings as ripples of impossible energy cascaded through the area. The pyramids themselves seemed to pulse with internal light, geometric patterns appearing and disappearing faster than eyes could track. Then they heard it. A transmission, broadcast on all frequencies, in perfect galactic common. The Council's curiosity is noted and has been tolerated. This intrusion, however, exceeds acceptable parameters. Further violations will receive proportional responses. Your technology has been archived for reference. Please accept this demonstration of our preferences regarding uninvited guests. Before Varks could process the implications of this message, their sensors detected a massive energy spike. The 3 Council vessels simply reversed. Every action they had taken, every particle they had disturbed, every quantum state they had altered, all of it undid itself with perfect precision. The ships found themselves back in orbit, their quantum drills restored, with no evidence that they had ever attempted their mission except for their crew's memories and a single data crystal that hadn't existed before, floating in space between them. Display crystal contents, Varks ordered, their voice shaking. The holographic display filled with mathematical proofs, demonstrating exactly how the humans had reversed the Council's attack. The equations were elegant, perfect, and utterly beyond the Council's current scientific understanding. This wasn't just advanced technology. This was mastery of physical laws the Council hadn't even discovered yet. Incoming transmission from Earth, their computer announced. Text only. The message was brief. We appreciate the Council's interest in our affairs. We have monitored your observation efforts since they began. Your dedication to understanding is commendable. However, today's attempt to breach our archives demonstrates a concerning lack of judgment. Consider this a learning opportunity. The knowledge you seek cannot be taken. It must be earned. When you are ready to learn rather than take, we will welcome the conversation. Varks watched as the Council ships retreated, their crews shaken by the encounter. The casual display of technological superiority was stunning enough, but what truly chilled Varks' blood was the realization that humans had known about them all along. Every observation, every probe, every scan, humans had been aware of it all, simply choosing to let the Council think they were undetected. Update primary analysis. Varks commanded, their scales shifting to the deep green of profound concern. Humans haven't been hiding from us. They've been waiting for us. The only remaining question is, waiting for what? The meeting wasn't what Varks had expected. After the Council's disastrous intervention attempt, they had anticipated guards, weapons, or at least some display of the overwhelming technological power humans had demonstrated. Instead, they sat in a quiet coffee shop in Boston, watching Dr. Catherine Morrison stir her latte with remarkable calm for someone about to shatter the foundation of galactic civilization. "You've been very thorough in your observations," she said, her blue eyes twinkling with amusement. "Though your Council's recent attempt to breach the Alexandria archive was rather clumsy." Varks' scales rippled with embarrassment. "You knew about our presence all along." "Since before you launched your first satellite," Catherine confirmed. "We've watched countless civilizations discover Earth, study us, and eventually try to take what they think we're hiding. The Council has shown more patience than most." She reached into her bag, a simple leather satchel that Varks' sensors couldn't penetrate, and withdrew what appeared to be an ancient book. The moment it touched the table, reality seemed to blur around them. Varks realized with a start that they now sat in a bubble of altered spacetime. "A privacy measure," Catherine explained. "What I'm about to show you isn't for the Council's censors." She opened the book, and Varks' 3 hearts nearly stopped. The pages contained equations that redefined their understanding of physics, casual solutions to problems that had puzzled Council scientists for millennia, and astronomical observations of galaxies they hadn't even discovered yet. "This text," Varks whispered, "it's older than human civilization." Catherine smiled. "No, it's exactly as old as human civilization. Because we wrote it." The truth hit Varks like a quantum cascade. "You're not the inheritors of ancient knowledge. We're its source," Catherine confirmed. "Humanity didn't discover this technology or inherit it from ancient visitors. We developed it, perfected it, and then made the hardest choice any civilization has ever faced. We chose to forget it." She turned to a page showing Earth as it had been millions of years ago. "We had mastered the fundamental forces of reality. We could reshape planets, engineer stars, and bend spacetime to our will. But we saw what that power was doing to us, how it threatened to corrupt not just our civilization, but our very essence as a species." Varks' analytical mind raced. "The Great Regression. You chose to start over." "More than that," Catherine said. "We chose to grow up again, properly this time. To develop wisdom before reclaiming our power. The Guardians don't protect knowledge from being lost. We protect it from being found too soon." She gestured at the city outside their bubble of altered spacetime. "Every human city, every culture, every technological advancement has been carefully guided. Not toward forgetting, but toward remembering in the right way, at the right time." The libraries, Varks realized. They're not just storage. They're waypoints. "Checkpoints," Catherine corrected. "Each one testing whether humanity has developed the wisdom to handle the knowledge it guards. The underground facilities aren't just archives. They're the neurons of a planetary-scale consciousness, monitoring our species' development." She closed the book, and symbols briefly flickered across its cover in patterns that hurt Varx's eyes to observe. Your council fears we're advancing too quickly, that we must have stolen knowledge from somewhere. The truth is, we're remembering far more slowly than we could, because speed isn't the point. Wisdom is. Varx understood at last. You've been watching us watch you. Every species that discovers Earth becomes part of the experiment. Catherine smiled. Your reactions, your choices, your decisions about how to handle what you find. It all helps us measure the galaxy's readiness for what we remember. She stood, preparing to leave. The Council has a choice to make now. You can continue your observations, learning from how we handle our gradual remembering. Or you can try to take what we know by force, though I think today's demonstration showed how that would end. Varx had one final question. Why tell me this now? Catherine's expression became serious. Because the time of forgetting is ending. Humanity is beginning to truly remember. And the galaxy needs to be ready for what that means. Your report to the Council will help shape their response to what comes next. As she turned to leave, reality rippled again. The coffee shop returned to normal, though Varx noticed their sensors had failed to record anything from the past 30 minutes. On the table where the book had been, a single piece of paper remained. Written on it in elegant script was a simple message. The greatest test of wisdom is knowing when not to use power. How will your council fare on this test? Varx stood before the Galactic Council's emergency session, their scales shifting through shades of deep blue as they contemplated their next words. The council chamber, usually a place of measured debate and careful diplomacy, crackled with tension. The failed intervention at Giza had shaken their confidence. Dr. Morrison's revelations had shattered their assumptions. Display final analysis, Varx commanded. The chamber's holographic systems activated, showing Earth floating in space. Points of light marked every library, every museum, every archive they had identified. We have fundamentally misunderstood humanity's role in galactic civilization, Varx began. They are not an emerging species to be studied. They are not guardians of ancient knowledge. They are the ancestors we never knew we had. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. High Counselor Nexvaz leaned forward, their crystalline form refracting light, in patterns of concern. Explain. Varx gestured, and the display shifted to show the underground network they had discovered. These facilities aren't just storage systems. They're components of a planetary-scale consciousness. Humanity didn't hide their knowledge in them. They transformed their knowledge into them. The display zoomed in on Prairie Creek Library, showing Madison Reynolds accessing systems that defied physics as they knew it. Every human library contains fragments of their original knowledge, protected not just by technology, but by wisdom. They're not waiting to remember. They're waiting to be wise enough to remember correctly. And what of their awareness of us? Another council member demanded. Their ability to simply undo our intervention. Consider what that reveals, Varx responded. They didn't destroy our ships. They didn't retaliate. They simply reversed what we had done, demonstrated why it was foolish, and invited us to learn. Even with power that makes our most advanced technology look primitive, they choose restraint. The chamber erupted in debate. Some council members called for immediate military action before humans could remember more of their power. Others advocated for isolation, sealing off the entire sector. But Varx wasn't finished. I have come to a conclusion that will determine not just my future, but perhaps the future of galactic civilization itself, they announced. The chamber fell silent. Varx's scales shifted to the gold of certainty as they removed their council insignia. I am resigning from my position as Senior Intelligence Officer. I have accepted an invitation from the Guardians to join their mission. The chamber exploded in shock. You would betray the Council, Nexvaz demanded. No, Varx replied calmly. I choose to learn. Humanity's experiment isn't just about their own development. It's about all of us. They want to ensure that when they fully awaken to their true nature, the galaxy is ready for what they remember. The holographic display shifted one final time. showing Dr. Morrison's message about wisdom and power. We face a choice, Varks continued. We can react with fear, trying to suppress or control something far beyond our understanding. Or we can accept humanity's invitation to learn, to grow, to understand why a civilization at its height would choose to forget its power until it developed the wisdom to use it properly. Varks looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each council member. I choose to learn. I choose to understand why beings who could reshape reality itself would instead choose to build libraries. I choose to discover what humanity remembers, not by force or subterfuge, but by earning the right to that knowledge. They turned to leave, then paused. Your choice now will echo through history. Will you continue to watch and wonder why humans guard their libraries so fiercely? Or will you understand that perhaps the greatest power is knowing when not to use power at all? The chamber remained silent as Varks departed. Behind them, the holographic display continued to show Earth's libraries pulsing with hidden energy, each one a testament to humanity's extraordinary choice to grow up again, to remember slowly, to value wisdom over power. As they walked away from their old life toward humanity's grand experiment, Varks understood at last. The true secret hidden in Earth's libraries wasn't the knowledge they contained. It was the choice they represented. A choice every civilization must eventually face between power and wisdom, between taking and learning, between force and understanding. Humanity had made their choice eons ago. Now it was the Council's turn to choose.